to it, as well as we're hoping that it can be shown at the Willows campus. And so we are recording this today. I'd like you to note that there are refreshments in the back. After we are done, feel free to help yourself to those refreshments and to enjoy perhaps introducing yourselves to our teachers here. I'd like to begin by thanking the Curriculum Council members. The Curriculum Council is the idea-generating engine, in some ways, of Living U. There are a number of persons who try to think of ideas, as well as they keep networking to think of potential teachers and topics for classes and ideas for field trips. So those Curriculum Council members are scattered about here. We have 3 residents of Souderton Mennonite Homes, Marvin Anders, Rich Fiedler, and Susan Shade. And we have 3 residents of Dock Woods, Jean Bartholomew, Jerry Mergen, and Marianne Batiste, as well as 1 potential future resident, Phyllis Young, serves on the Curriculum Council. So they also serve as the greeters for the classes, and so I'm very grateful for all of their work and their input to help Living U, to help make it as good as we can make it. And before I turn it over to our teachers here, most questions that you might have about Living U, we try to do our best that on pages 2 and 3 of the course brochure, we try to explain things as best as we can. So on here, you'll notice that there are several ways that you can register. Starting at 2:15 today, you'll be able to head back into that room behind us, and we'll have 5 staff people that can help you to register in person here today. Starting at 3 o'clock today, the website will go live that you can register on your computer or on your phone. You can register for classes there. And then, just because I'm really busy in the first couple days, I put it at that you can call me starting next Tuesday to register, and I can just do it. I can talk you through it over the phone, and I can get the registration done that way. You'll see that there's listed other registration times, some here at Souderton Homes and some at Dock Woods, and those are listed there. The costs, there's a tiered registration cost for registering for Living U, and then the field trips have extra costs and some courses have extra costs, and that's listed here. Personal care and healthcare residents do not need to pay the Living U tiered registration cost. Transportation, we provide transportation from the different campuses. There's a shuttle that runs so that you can go from one campus to another for the class, and that information is here, is in here as well. So you can refer to that. Sometimes classes and trips fill up. Actually, frequently, the field trips fill up, and some of the smaller size classes. I encourage you to write in the comment section when you're registering if you want to be added to the waiting list if the class fills up, because I am often amazed that some people have to cancel, and I'm able to get a good amount of people from the waiting list into the class or the field trip. And that also helps me to know how much extra interest there is in something. Sometimes we run a field trip again because there's so much interest in it. So I am so grateful to our teachers. Our teachers are volunteers, and so they give so much time in preparation for teaching the classes, as well as when they come here and then teach all of you. And we just have such a wealth of knowledge, of life experience, of inspiration and enthusiasm in drawing together all these different teachers to teach you. And we have a number of them present here today, and they will be sharing about their classes. So thank you to you teachers. So what we will be doing is each teacher has been given 2 minutes to share about their class, and we will be proceeding through chronologically through the semester. So John Tyson is first here, and he'll be sharing about his class first. It'll then go to Mark Durstein, who will share second. Then Colin Ingram is third. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 teachers that are not here that I will share about, and then we'll jump back. So each time there's an absentee teacher, I'll share that description, and then we'll jump to the next one of you. If there's time at the end, we're aiming to be done at 2:15, but if we have any extra time, we'll open it up for questions. So we're ready to begin. So John Tyson is our first teacher. He will be teaching on how the leopard got his spots.
Okay, good afternoon. One of the most challenging problems in biology is how a fertilized egg develops into an embryo and eventually into a baby animal ready to live on its own. This is called the problem of morphogenesis, that is, the development of form. How does a single round egg cell develop a head and tail, a back and front, legs and wings, and internal organs? Why do the whiskers sprout from an animal's snout or a mane grow on the back of its neck? Why is its coat adorned with spots like a leopard or stripes like a tiger? The central dogma of molecular biology is that all characteristics of living organisms must ultimately be explained by the interactions of genes, proteins, and other biochemicals. But how can biochemistry account for morphogenesis? A possible answer was suggested in 1952 when a mathematician named Alan Turing published a paper entitled The Chemical Basis of Morphogenesis. Alan Turing was born in London and educated at Cambridge and Princeton in the 1930s. At the beginning of the Second World War, he joined the famous Government Code and Cipher School at Bletchley Park. His team was given the task of breaking the code of the Enigma machine used by the German military to send messages to their army and navy. Turing designed a giant electromechanical machine that could deduce the day's code in a few hours and thereby read the enemy's plans. This breakthrough was crucial to the success of the Allies in the Second World War. After the war, Turing went to Manchester University, where he was influential in the development of the modern computer. Surprisingly, his last published paper was on this chemical basis of morphogenesis. In my Living You presentation, I will try to tell Turing's fascinating story in layman's terms.
All right. And next we have Mark Durstein will be teaching on My 500-Year Spiritual Genealogy, 1525 to 2025.
And Colin here is yielding one of his minutes to me so that I have 3. And you can see some of the dramatic differences in topics from what John was describing and what I want to be sharing as well. It was almost 300 years ago when there was a ship coming from Europe. And on that ship was a young man of 20 years old, single, not married, and it docked in Philadelphia. And that man's name was Michael Durstein. And so as some of you know in your last names, those names can vary a bit when you come to America. But so it was called Durstein or Derstein in several different ways like that. But I am the 9th generation from that Michael Derstein. And so my parents and all the Dursteins, mostly in Pennsylvania, were developed from that particular family line. Now, I'm not going to do a lot of genealogy in terms of family genealogy. I know that some people love genealogy and others not so much. So I'm not going to go, he begot so-and-so and begot so-and-so in that way. Because what was part of Michael Derstein's life was that he came from a specific new Christian movement that began in Europe some 200 years before him. And that was during the Protestant Reformation. And at that time, with Luther and Zwingli and those, there was also what we call the Radical Reformation, and it was later known or called at that time as the Anabaptist movement in Europe in the early 1500s. And so Michael Derstein really was a spiritual descendant through from that time when he came here to Pennsylvania. And my parents continued that particular Anabaptist Mennonite faith tradition through all those generations. And so I would have been shaped myself in my faith by my parents' Mennonite understanding and beliefs at that time. So really the key word in that title is spiritual genealogy. And so it was important for me to look at what shaped me, what is the historical context that shaped my parents' views, my parents' faith, their values, that was passed on to me, and in what way do I accept that, continue that, or in what way does my generation change and express that in a different way, because I grew up in a very different world and society than even my parents did. Okay. But that's good. I mean, that's where it is, and that's what I want to share, and I invite you then to join with me in reflecting on your own life and faith journey from your tradition as well. Okay?
And then our third class is taught by Colin Ingram, Explore the World of Specialty Coffee, a Tasting Experience.
My name is Colin Ingram, and if I'm shaking up here, it's not because I'm nervous, it's because I had too much coffee. The key to this course on coffee is the key word is specialty. This course is highlighting specialty grade coffee as opposed to commodity grade coffee. Specialty grade coffee is graded. It's a designated, there's a designated process by some organizations that create a common consensus on the grade of coffee and what can be called specialty grade coffee. A key component of specialty grade coffee is the roaster. It's the quality of the beans that are imported, but it's also how the roasters customize specific profiles to highlight the nuances of beans from particular, grown in certain origins, certain particular soils. An interesting thing we're going to kick off the course with will be that coffee is not always so much thought of as agriculture. You tend to think of it as a beverage, or you think of beans, but where do these roasted beans come from? What do they look like before that? What do they look like in the soils that they're grown in? Coffee is a plant, it's a crop. So we're going to kind of review some of that. Now this course is going to be not from experts, but from people exposed to expert practices in roasting and expert teachings, but we're enthusiasts, and there will be a tasting experience. We're going to have coffees brewed up, sample coffees from different regions of the world to distinguish the taste between them and the soils they were grown in. So please sign up.
All right. Thank you, Colin. The fourth class in this semester is called Spring Cleaning Your Life, taught by Jennifer Zuck. Just as spring invites us to open windows and clear out the dust, it's also the perfect time to refresh and declutter our lives, both inside and out. This course is designed to guide you through a meaningful process of releasing what no longer serves you, so you can make space for new opportunities, deeper peace, and personal growth. Through a combination of reflection, intentional release practices, and self-care, you will learn to create meaningful rituals for emotional release and personal renewal, practice self-care and mindfulness to support lasting change, and seek to build supportive relationships as you move forward. Perfect for anyone ready to reset, refocus, and invite more joy and balance into their daily lives. Jennifer Zuck is coming to us from Quakertown, where she is the founder and a counselor of Life Giving Counseling Services. That's class number 4. Then class number 5, jumping topics considerably to a physics professor. Class number 5 is Fermi Questions, Thinking Like a Physicist, with Jeremy Carlo. How many McDonald's hamburgers would fit between the Earth and the Moon? How many balloons would it take to fill this entire room, from floor to ceiling? If humans could fly, how big would our wings be? How much does Mount Everest weigh? These types of questions are called Fermi questions, named after the physicist Enrico Fermi, who loved to pose these questions to provoke thought and discussion. We'll explore questions like this, making order of magnitude estimates and using approximations to think like a physicist and approach what seem to be intractable problems. Jeremy Carlo is returning. He had taught one other physics class here before. He is an associate professor of physics at Villanova University. He earned an undergraduate degree in physics and mathematics, and a PhD in physics, and his research involves quantum materials. So that will be a good one to ignite all kinds of interesting ideas and thoughts in our minds. Oh, and I just used the word ignite. Okay, class number 6 is called Reignite You, and this is taught by Latonia Clark. We are wonderfully created, designed with care, and our value doesn't end with age. If anything, it grows deeper. Each season of life holds new purpose, fresh wisdom, and endless potential. In this uplifting session, we will explore 3 stages of renewing how we see aging and discover the 4 gifts that we can 4 gifts that we can have to reignite our confidence, joy, and sense of purpose. Together, we'll celebrate all we still have to share, our stories, our wisdom, and our strength. And Latonia Clark is a coach, a mentor, and an advisor who is the founder and principal of Altitude Consulting and Coaching, a consulting, training, and workforce development company. She coaches individuals who feel stuck and need guidance in unearthing answers to questions about how to identify and go about meeting goals. And then, shifting to a literature topic, class number 7 is celebrating 250 years of Jane Austen, taught by Elizabeth Jane Steele. "What is all this about Jane Austen?" wrote Joseph Conrad in a letter to a friend. "What is there in her? What is it all about?" You may ask the same questions. On March 23rd and 30th, you'll learn the answer when Elizabeth Steele, former vice president of the Jane Austen Society of North America, will share details of Austen's life and genius, as well as details about Austen's most well-known novel, Pride and Prejudice. You may have already learned that Austen grew up in a small English village, traveled little, and had no connections to the aristocracy or the upper classes. You may have learned she was completely anonymous. You may have learned that she wrote only for the entertainment of family and friends. Austen's first cousin was a French countess, her great-uncle a duke. Austen was known to the Prince Regent as the author of Sense and Sensibility, and he had purchased all her published novels. Most importantly, Austen intended to be a published author. We'll set Austen mythology aright and learn that Austen is considered by many authors and academics to be the first of the great British novelists. Okay, looks like I still have two more. Okay, keep going. All right, so Douglas Miller will be teaching next. Some of you heard him this fall. He taught one class about William Penn, and he is returning again to teach Seed of a Nation, William Penn and Our Government. William Penn is a name that most people recognize, yet few fully appreciate his contributions and legacy. Today, as citizens, we owe many freedoms that are taken for granted to the early work of William Penn. Nearly 90 years before the United States would have a constitutional convention, Penn would lay foundation stones in his own governmental work that would inspire the framers of the Constitution. Thomas Jefferson felt that Penn was the greatest lawgiver to have lived. Join Doug Miller, director of the Pennsbury Manor, which was William Penn's home, and find out why. Douglas Miller has been involved in public history for over 40 years and has been the museum director of a number of our Pennsylvania museums. And then class number 9, both the Collins Coffee class as well as this class, Collins has coffee tasting, and this one will involve that you'll get to eat some food too. So if you like coffee or you like healthy food, this one might be for you. So class S2609 is Savor the Rainbow, Colorful Eating for Healthy Aging, taught by Dr. Danielle Kronmuller. Discover the power of color on your plate. This engaging course will explore how fruits and vegetables in every shade of the rainbow provide unique nutrients that support healthy aging. Participants will learn how different colors relate to vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants that promote heart health, brain function, strong bones, and overall vitality. Through interactive discussions and simple tasting activities, you will uncover practical tips for adding more variety and flavor to everyday meals. Whether you are looking to boost energy, protect against chronic disease, or simply enjoy new foods, this course will inspire you to eat with color, confidence, and joy. Danielle Kronmuller is returning. She had taught 2 classes for us on chocolate, and those were just lovely classes. You got to learn about chocolate, you got to eat chocolate, and she's a professor at Westchester University in their dietetics and nutrition department, and she allows you to ask lots of questions about healthy eating And it's a nice experience. All right, and now we'll turn it to David Hudiak. David Hudiak will be teaching, and he's returning to teach a class on The Civil War Begins, 1861.
Thank you, Mary Beth. It's great to be back here at Living Branches as we begin to embark on another excursion into American history. This is projected to be the first of 2 courses on the Civil War. In the spring, we'll be talking about the prelude to the Civil War, i.e. the causes of the war, and then also the monumental first year of the war, 1861. Then, good Lord willing, we'll be back in the fall to wrap up the war, the years 1862 to 1865, and I promise to tell you who wins at the end of the second course. The Civil War is seen by historians as being perhaps the greatest, most significant event in American history. It affects us to this very day. There are ripple effects going on in American society from the Civil War even today. And a lot of people have a rather simplistic view about its causes. They think it was exclusively about slavery. Well, the Civil War was largely about slavery, but there were other problems between the North and South, economic, cultural, political differences. We'll explore all of those problems and see why the war came about. And once we do that, we'll take a look at the watershed first year of the war, 1861. Both sides thought at the beginning of the war that it would be quick and easy and glorious. It would be over by Christmas time. But it turned out to be horrific and deadly and a painful experience for everyone concerned. Names like Fort Sumter, like the First Battle of Bull Run, resonate down the annals of history to this very day. 500,000 people were killed in the war when our population was only 10% of what it is today. So you can imagine how many people would die if the war were held today. We'll talk about the monumental year, we'll talk about major personalities of that era, and we'll have a great journey together. I invite you to join me in that journey and look forward to seeing you in March and April.
Thank you, David. And next we have Mark Kelly will be teaching on news, views, and attitudes, a media literacy class.
Thank you. I just need to make clear before I say anything about my class that I have never lived in Arizona. I am not a U.S. Senator. And if I receive an honest draft for running for president, I will decline, okay? Guys running around using my name, and everybody keeps asking me what I'm going to do. At any rate, my class, the title is News, Views, and Attitudes, a media literacy class, and I made some signs. I'll hang out over here when we're done if you have other questions, but I think I can give you my understanding of what I've gotten myself into by saying that from my sign, only an idiot would attempt to teach a news media literacy class in today's media environment. I am just such an idiot. We really need to talk about this. So that's what my class will be about, and I would invite you, if you're interested in discussing such things, join us.
Thank you, Mark. The next class, S2612, is The Universe Through the Eyes of a Christian Astronomer, taught by Dr. David Bradstreet. Dr. David Bradstreet will be presenting in 2 one-hour sessions a tour of the universe and then reasons why I believe that the universe is a very old place. Dr. Bradstreet is an award-winning professor, author, and binary star expert who has been teaching students about the heavens since 1976 at Eastern University. There he serves as professor and chair of the Astronomy and Physics Department and the director of the Bradstreet Observatory and Julia Fowler Planetarium. He has worked with NASA, the National Science Foundation, and the International Astronomical Union. And following that class, on April 29, we will have a field trip to the museum at Hoppenville, And Lynn Berge, who has been working with me to arrange for that field trip, is here to share about it.
Hello, thank you for coming this afternoon. Why don't you ding her?
She's doing a great job.
I know, she's fabulous. I am here to represent the museum at Hoppenville. It is on the estate of John and Linda Haynes. You may be familiar with the H&K Group, Blooming Glen Construction. You've seen their trucks around. This is the H, Mr. Haynes, and his collection over the years of what we would call life-size matchboxes that he kept over the years. He has 3 museums. He has a construction agriculture museum. He has a Mack Truck Legacy Museum, a Haynes Family Legacy Museum, and Race Car Museum. And in that is the first vehicle, it's actually the second vehicle in Montgomery County that was run on a tractor motor. Ford sued them and shut it down because it was competition for their vehicles. So you'll get to see that vehicle in our museum. We're also working, and you may be there in time, we are working fervently to get this done, a G-gauge train museum, which is also on the complex. We have a cottage on Airbnb if you'd like to escape here for a little bit and come over and stay a while for a respite, and also take in the natural beauty that's on the property. A welcome center was built and opened in May really of last year that holds 220 guests, and that was the vision of Mr. and Mrs. Haynes, to keep the museums open for the foundation on the property, because as you know, taxes and insurance are very expensive. Mr. Haynes has also donated a book for the library, and it is over on the table there. We'll leave that behind so that you can read up on his story from the ground up. Ding, ding.
Time's up.
All right, thank you, Lynn. And then next we have James Mast is here, and he will be teaching on the stories we tell, meaning, mental health, and the human adventure.
I'll start with a joke that's usually good. How many therapists does it take to screw in a light bulb? One? Well, yeah, the light bulb really has to want to change itself in order for it to happen. The experience of being a therapist is an interesting one. You're somewhere between priest and medical physician. You exist in that kind of nebulous territory. And it's concerned with helping people know how to live. And to that end, the question of, what is the defining characteristic about people that we can zero in on, it becomes an important question. To answer that question, one can look many places. One place we can look is the name of our species, which is Homo sapien. Some of you might know that loosely translates to the knowing one, as if knowledge or capacity for it is a defining characteristic. Less known is we had other competing names for the species. One was Homo neurons, the one that tells the stories. And so in this seminar, I really hope to talk about the importance of stories, because stories really form the golden road to meaning in life, and meaning is one of those things that we just can't do without. In an age where we focus on many different places for wellness, the question of meaning sometimes gets lost in the shuffle. And so by looking at literature, by looking at mythology, or even the Disney movies my 7-year-old watch, we can sort of discover what are the stories that continue to help us find meaning. And what happens when we don't have an efficient story for our lives? That happens for people all the time, and represents a type of collapse. And so we'll talk about all that. We'll talk about, I'll make a case for if you're going to pick a story, why maybe pick an adventure story when it comes for your life. as that particular type of story contains quite a bit of wisdom for living. And yeah, so that's about the gist here.
Thank you, James. And the next class, S2615, will be taught by Jim Smith, and it is called 88 Keys, The History of the Piano.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. How you doing today? 30 seconds? I told you my timing. All right. This year, the Spring Music Appreciation class is titled 88 Keys, The History of the Piano, and it will be presented in 2 sessions on Thursday, May 7th and Thursday, May 14th. Both sessions will take place at 10 o'clock in the morning in the Durstein Chapel at Dock Woods. Now, this course will start with information about the ancestors of the piano, the harpsichord, and the forte piano. We will listen to the keyboard music of Bach as played on the harpsichord, and then compare the same pieces played on the modern piano, so you can hear the difference in the tone of those two instruments. We will also listen to a keyboard piece by Mozart as played on the forte piano, and then another of his pieces played on a modern piano. We will learn about how the forte piano was invented and eventually evolved into the modern piano of today. In the second session, we're going to listen to several recordings made by virtuoso pianists playing music written by famous composers Beethoven, Schubert, Chopin, Schumann, Brahms, Debussy, and today I also added Gershwin. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you in May for this 2-course session. Thank you. Did I make the time there? Okay.
Thank you, Jim. Following Jim's class, the Wednesday, May 13, we will have a field trip to Chanticleer Garden. Join a knowledgeable Chanticleer guide for a 90-minute walking tour featuring garden history, seasonal highlights, and tour of the first floor of the Chanticleer House. Chanticleer is a 35-acre pleasure garden in Wayne, Pennsylvania, where gardeners lead the design, and the garden is a study of texture, form, and color. Chanticleer features varied terrain, including gentle slopes, inclines, and declines, with a mix of paved, turf, and stone pathways. This tour will require extended lengths of walking, some parts on uneven surfaces, and it will take place rain or shine. And with each of these field trips, they're limited to 20 people because we take the Berkshire coach, and that's how many we can fit in it. And then we head on off and have a wonderful field trip, and then bring you back to the campuses here. More information on costs on the field trips is in the course brochure. And then our next class is S2617, An Introduction to Mennonite Faith and Practice, will be taught by Joel Horst Nofziger. This course will provide an overview of Mennonites as a faith community. It will cover the 500-year history of the faith community in brief, as well as key theological convictions and spiritual practices. And we do have this extra emphasis this time on Anabaptism, partly because residents have requested that. They're living here and they want to understand what is Mennonite faith. We're living in this place that started with Mennonites. And also, Mennonites and all Anabaptists just celebrated a 500-year birthday. So Joel Horst Nofziger will be teaching this. He is the executive director of the Mennonite Heritage Center. And then I'll turn it to Lisa Knapp Siegel, who she will be teaching the class, Mary Knapp's Enduring Civil War Love Story.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Lisa Knapp Siegel. I am currently the president of the Montgomery Township Historical Society, which is in Montgomeryville, PA, and not to be confused with the Montgomery County Historical Society, which is in Norristown. Our family donated the historic house and 7 acres around it to the Historical Society in 2002, and this is where our story takes place. So imagine a young girl hearing fascinating tidbits about a true long-ago family love story that took place before, during, and after the Civil War, but never really knowing all the details and wondering for many, many years afterwards about hearing this story and having many questions about it, but no answers. But then decades later, she's able to piece the story together from over 200 letters discovered at her historic family homestead, which was really a remarkable time capsule when you think about it, because all these letters were there, sort of there but not in clear view. Well, that young girl was me, and Mary Knapp was my great-great-aunt, and she is one of the main characters of the story that I'm going to tell you. I'm excited to be sharing this story with all of you about a Union lady from Montgomery Township, a doctor from Georgia, and a surprising new twist that I discovered about a POW who was a Civil War soldier, and how he enters into this story. I will be bringing along some actual artifacts that we have from the 1800s and from the story, some actual letters, daguerreotypes, photos, and other things. So I hope if you have any interest in the Civil War or history and a love story thrown in, come on in and see on May 20th. And I think you will also be interested to hear a lot of the perspectives from the firsthand accounts from people who lived during that time that were expressed in the letters that we found. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And then our final experience of the semester is a field trip, birding by boat at the Green Lane Reservoir, which will be taught and organized by Jeff Kochi and the Perkiomen Watershed. This is repeating. We did have a kayaking experience last spring, and the people who went on it loved it so much they hardly got done kayaking without saying, "Can we do it again?" And so we're bringing it back again this May. Whether you want to learn more about our feathered friends who call Green Lane home, or just take in the beautiful sights of the reservoir, this program is for you. Join educators from the Perkiomen Watershed Conservancy on a kayaking adventure around the various coves of the Green Lane Reservoir and learn about the many bird species who rely on this remarkable habitat. Let your curiosity take flight as our experienced guides lead you on a guided paddle and land-based bird bingo activity. All kayaks, paddles, and life jackets will be supplied by the Conservancy. So that's our most adventurous field trip, and I invite those of you that love to kayak to join in that. We have done it. It's 2:15, and we squished this program kind of tight together so that we encourage you to be able to come and hear from the teachers and then have time to register in a meaningful length of time. So we will be shifting to the time of registration. Teachers, I want to thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing enthusiastically about your classes. It was interesting hearing from every one of you. And if you want to linger now at all afterwards, people can feel free to come and talk with you. If you need to go, that's okay too, we understand. But you can exit the stage after I'm done speaking and head on down, be with everyone else here. Just to point out a few things. Yes, thank you. Mark Kelly brought a media literacy book that he wrote. He has some copies over there if you want to check that out. Lynn Berge brought some brochures about the museum at Hoppenville, so those are in that corner there. Again, there's refreshments back here for you to enjoy, and registration will take place in this fellowship viewing room behind us. And what will happen as they exit the stage, a screen will come down and it'll have the numbers displayed on it. So if you received a number, it'll say numbers 1 to 5, head on back to the room. And numbers 1 to 5, you can go right away back to the room. You're the beginning. And then it'll say numbers 5 to 10. And then it'll keep going up by 5. If you're talking away and you miss your number, but if your number is already passed, go ahead back and get registered then. And we try to have an orderly way of making this take place. If you need a number, you can get one on the table in the lobby. So thank you all for coming, and thanks for your interest in Living You. Have a good day.
Well, let me tell you, I think one does a better job teaching something if one really enjoys it. And I'm sure that's the same way it is for you. And I just like sharing the knowledge. You're so receptive and appreciative like us to come to share something with them. Just a win-win situation. Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to meet you. And Lord willing, I'll be doing this many times.